Hey there, Don the Idea Guy on day 5 of VEDA, a video every day in August. Today's suggested topic was to share a book that you were really excited about having read in the past year. And for some weird reason, I was on this kick over the last couple of months on finding creative, unique, interesting children's books. So I'm going to share a couple of children's books with you that I'd like to recommend to adults and kids alike. One of the reasons I got on this kick was a friend of mine, Jeffrey Gitomer, who does sales training seminars, is the author of the Little Red Book of Selling. In his seminars, he shares the story of the little engine that could and kind of modernizes it for adults. And it was an interesting take he had on this book, in that it's not just a book for a kid, it's a philosophy for a lifetime. And that impacted me as, what other kids' books did I read that impacted me as an adult? And as I went to go look for my favorites, and of course, Dr. Seuss was at the top of the list. And Green Eggs and Ham, to me, is a phenomenal book on sales and not giving up. But there's another book of his called The Sneetches, and that book to me is a book on marketing. Go read them. See if you pick out the same difference. But the books I wanted to share today, I've got 3 of them. One of them is by an author named Neil Gaiman, who some might know as the author of the Sandman comic book series. He's also written several contemporary fiction books, Good Omens. He's written American Gods. There's dozens of books that he's written. They're all fantastic. But he wrote a children's book called Instructions, and it's illustrated by Charles Vess, who his artwork is so delicate. It's just a joy to look at. But it is a collection of advice and wisdom for children as they're growing up that you can easily apply to adulthood, because it's one of the pages I just opened up randomly to is, if an eagle gives you a feather, keep it safe. Remember that giants sleep too soundly, that witches often betray their appetites. Dragons have one soft spot somewhere, always. Hearts can be well hidden, and you betray them with your tongue. So it's kind of a cool adventure book for a kid, but it's also a neat collection of advice and wisdom that you can look at and skew towards your more adult workaday perspective. But it's a great book, and I recommend it as one that you can read as a grown-up and give to a child and share with them. Another one is Exclamation Mark. And Exclamation Mark I found in the store while looking for a gift for a friend. And it's just a great typographic design book. So it deals with an exclamation mark, and there's a question mark, and there's periods and commas in here. But it's about this poor exclamation mark that's sad because he doesn't fit in with the rest of the group, and then realizes his strength is excitement and energy, and all of a sudden he's special. So it has to do with not wanting to fit in, even if you're trying to, and finding your personal brand. I likened it a lot to finding your own personal brand for a long time, and still do. I sign my name Don with an exclamation point at the end, and I've had people, when they read my name tag at conferences, go, "You're not just Don, you're Don!" And yeah, I am. And exclamation mark kind of drove that point home, and I recommend it to you. This is by Rosenthal and Lichtenheld. Great book, wonderfully illustrated, and Idea Guy can't go wrong with a bright yellow cover. The last book I wanted to share, especially appropriate to an Idea Guy, I'd never heard of this book, and that's what started, I think, me down this path on finding exclamation mark. As I saw this book in the store, and I was so mad that I didn't think of this, a children's book of creativity, or the children's book on the care and feeding of an idea, and it's called What Do You Do with an Idea? And that's by Kobi Yamada, illustrated by Besom. And it's gorgeous too. I mean, that's the nice thing about these children books, is you forget about looking at the pictures and how much joy that gave you as a kid. The illustrations have gotten so much more mature since I was a kid, and looking at the Dr. Seuss kind of line drawings. But it's done with just a few colors. It's kind of a black and white grayscale, and they mix in these golds and reds every once in a while to show the idea growing up. And it's an egg. What a great representation of an idea. I use the light bulb all the time because that's kind of the cliched image icon of an idea. And these guys use an egg, which is another great one too. So fantastic story about coming up with an idea and not knowing what to do with it. The character of the book tries to give away the idea to other people and they don't want it, but then it grows into something bigger and better than he ever imagined it would and shares it with the world. So what do you do with an idea? Exclamation mark and instructions. So go to the bookstore, buy a copy for yourself, and buy a copy for a kid you know. It might be a relative of yours. Maybe a friend of yours just had a baby and might be too old for a reader that young, but they'll grow into it, just like the ideas in What Do You Do with an Idea? They'll grow into it. So thanks for spending a little bit of time with me today on Veda. Look for me tomorrow on day 6.